everybody, my name is Achim Ammann from BLP Properties. We have today Dr. Hellriegel here. He is giving us a quick overview about the German legal situation, especially when you're looking to buy here in Germany, Berlin, especially when you are trying to get a planning permit. He's covering the rent ceiling, which there will be a federal court decision expected in the year 2021. We also discuss about the new ideas the German politicians are having regarding the new zoning plans, what can be better, what is the market like. So welcome to the show tonight. I think you're gonna like the next 20 to 30 minutes. And the first question is, Dr. Hellriegel, what are the current major problems in the new build sector? So what do you see as a major challenge? What are your clients usually asking or demanding as problems?
I would say the biggest problem in acting or in enabling more new build is the lack of zoning plans. The buildings that are currently being erected are based on zoning plans which have been set up in 2006. If you take, for example, Tacheles, Tacheles is a zoning plan from 2006. If you take, for example, the Edge Tower or Amazon Tower, so-called Amazon Tower at Warschauer Bridge, is a zoning plan from 2006. And I can give you several further examples. And why is that a problem? It's a problem because currently too few new zoning plans are being set up. In 2019, the Senate Department only set up 3 zoning plans, 3 in total of 2019. And that's not enough. And we need much more engagement from the Senate and the districts to set up new zoning plans, because if we don't activate, have you thought about your translation for Bauland?
Not yet. So Bauland is brown land, or building plots, building land. Yeah.
If you don't activate the soil.
Yes. Well, this is a tough translation. So we're trying in German to give you. So we're talking about there's a new law that is being discussed in the German Bundestag, and they are trying to motivate, let's put it this way, the politicians themselves and the investors to act faster, to grant more, building plots, so that investors can build more affordable houses for the big amount of people who are the middle class. So we have a big topic here with the middle class. Yeah.
So this is the first. We need new zoning plans to change ideally brown land into building land, alternatively also green land, but as with new ESG topics. So it's not so en vogue to use greenland. So change brown land into building land. Second major issue is emission conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
So what is currently taking place is that the city is growing into areas which in the past have been left or have been used as buffer zone against noisy facilities.
Okay.
So and now as the city is growing and is growing into these zones, you're producing emission conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big pity that in this federal act, which is in discussion now, they thought about entering a clause which would help in these emission conflicts, but it was also thrown out. It's no more part of the current draft bill. And the third major problem, especially in West Berlin, it's a West Berlin topic, is that you have here a very old zoning plan which is still in force in whole of West Berlin. It's called the Baunutzungsplan, and it's from 1961, and it's giving a GFZ of 1.5, and that's not what you're trying to build today. You're intending, if you are on residential, you're building between 2 and 3 in the GFZ, in the land use ratio and in the density. And if you're a commercial developer, you're thinking about 3 to 4 or even higher. So you can't build with 1.5. So these are 3 major problems.
Yeah, yeah. The German word I just put in there is Berliner Traufhöhe, which is quite a funny word. So in Berlin, if you visited Berlin and other German cities, maybe except Frankfurt, you see very few high-rises here, skyscrapers, depending if you prefer the American English. And so that's one topic he just addressed. For these ones, we'll just now enter the discussion. We have a question here from our English listener. We call it brownfield sites. Thank you for correcting. For already built upon land, often form a factory in industrial in cities. Greenfield belt, much harder to build on the. Yeah, that's exactly the same topic we have here. If you have a precise question, please ask. Thank you for correcting. So we have a new bill here in Germany that should enable developers to build faster and get more properties. If you watch the name, but if you look on the bill in detail, it doesn't really. Is there any incentive for people to now say, okay, there's a new bill in Germany? Is there any incentive to invest for the private industry, or
there are some good elements in the draft bill, such as broader use of exemptions, especially for residential projects. So exemptions, for example, from this old Zurich plan from '61 in Berlin, can be granted more easy, which is really helping. It also there's also a clause in it that deviating from the density thresholds will be more easy in the future, which is helping in setting up new zoning plans. But these are 2 good elements. Besides that, we are getting a sectoral zoning plan for more social housing projects. We're getting more preemptive rights. We're getting order to build, Baugebot.
Okay. So you have a duty to build within, I think, 3 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
You're getting the.
Maybe just a quick one on duty to build. So I'm sure you guys know land banking, which is not only in Germany quite popular. When I lived in the UK and in Ireland and in the US, this is a very popular topic. And this is not really adding any surplus for the community here in Germany, so that's something they want to stop, I think. But it's already under discussion for many years, so I think that's a positive thing, because we as agents, developers, lawyers, we only profit when you actually build something, and I think that's very important, even though the name is a bit tricky, and if you look in the bill in detail, but that's positive actually. Yeah.
It comes down to what I've started with. If you have enough zoning plans, if you have enough activated building land, there's no business case in land banking.
Absolutely.
Land banking only works if there's no
the scarcity of units.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is how to go forward, and it has been neglected dramatically in the past. And still in the present, and other cities are much more progressive here.
Yeah.
Frankfurt, Hamburg.
I would say pretty every
Munich.
city except Berlin.
Yeah,
it's not difficult to be any more progressive. Yeah, but that means also for the macroeconomic view, if you're an investor and you own a property, yes, we have the rent ceiling, which we have to tackle in a few minutes, and we have a few other issues here in Germany, but it also means that the demand supply doesn't really change for you as an investor in the near future. So the next question is about property prices, and I have to say, yes, property prices will go up, especially if you are buying for your own use, if you want to live in your property, your apartment, your house. However, for buy-to-let investors, we are looking on a more tougher scenario, because you will have a more regulated property market here in Berlin, and I think you already have a more regulated property market in Munich. And I have some Munich friends who tell me very different stories, so you should be aware of the regulation in Germany, which is very tough, and don't forget that tenants are very protected. This is something a lot of our international investors don't really understand. I'm sure you have similar experiences with people from abroad, so that's something you should check. Sorry, I was interrupting you on the.
No, it's just just wanted to quote an email I wrote the other day. There was an investor coming to Berlin, and he's demolishing an old residential building in a commercial area to, or that's what he's intending, to erect new office uses. And I said to him, well you will have an issue here regarding misuse of residential apartments. And Zweckentfremdung in German. And he said, well, there's, okay, then we put it as a closing condition into the purchase agreement. And I said, well, okay, but you have to draft carefully, because you need a first permit under misuse regulation. However, Negativattest, wow.
It's a certificate from the council, you can say council or local authorities.
I had another word for it, but I'm missing it. So if it's not residential, and so you also need for demolishing one under building law, so you need two permits actually. And I concluded the email with sounds complicated. Welcome to Berlin. Because that's the situation here, and I think with you when you're hearing about Berlin as a failed state, in the Figaro and the NZZ from Zurich, or in Times from New York, we are particularly pointing at the planning law departments here in Berlin. Which are dramatically understaffed.
Yes.
They're not unwilling, but they're completely understaffed, and it's really a nightmare.
Yeah. So take your time if you invest in Germany, especially in Berlin.
Yeah.
Get good, decent legal advice. Make sure you know the local rules. Tenants are protected. It's not easy to get planning permits, especially in the new builds. It will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on what you want to do. If you buy office building, you want to convert that into residential. I think that's easier than the other way, if you do the other way around, because we have such a massive demand for residential properties. So we have a lot of questions on the rent ceiling. So there was going to be a court decision in the federal court this next year, 2021. We don't really know when. It has been promised in the second quarter 2021, but we're not really sure. Maybe you can give your quick idea on that court. I know again it's speculation. It's in front of the federal court, but maybe just your opinion on that case.
Well, that's a hard one. I've not advised on English yet on the rent ceiling. But let's give it a try. I think the major issue is it's a state act. It's not a federal act. It's an act by the state of Berlin, and the main question is, does the state of Berlin has the competence for such act? And most legal commentators, most legal experts, especially from the universities, but also like former federal judges, have given opinion on that question and have clearly stated that there's no such competence for that. There are few commentators who have advised otherwise, but usually they are just like from far left universities or far left
institutions,
NGOs. So there's a broad mutual understanding that the state of Berlin has no such competence, and this has also been confirmed by the Constitutional Court of Bavaria, where there was an initiative to enact a similar rent ceiling on state level as has been set in force here in Berlin. So I would say from a pure legal point of view, I would say that the case is solved and clear. However, who has been to constitutional court knows it's not that simple. The constitutional courts usually are not that black and white, and they're taking a look at also the gray factors. From a pure legal point of view, I would say the rent ceiling will be
released. Yeah.
Verworfen wollte ich eigentlich sagen, but released.
We can't say thrown away, but it will be stopped.
Yeah,
it will lose in front of the federal court. Yeah.
However, this also is also possible that the rent freeze will stay in force, and only the reduction of rent will be abolished. So we have to see, but we'll get a ruling before.
So basically, for you guys, it's important if you invest, if you own a property here in Germany, or if you want to sell it or buy it, just be aware that it's heavily regulated. And again, please contact Dr. Hellriegel if you have any further legal questions, especially when it comes to planning permits. We have a few other questions here in English, but we're running a bit out of time. So you have questions like, is Tegel a good area for property now that the airport is closed? Yes, it is, but that's not the topic of today's webinar. So please contact us directly. If you have a property in mind, we can give you a valuation, or we can give you a one-by-one coaching on that. How does the rent cap affect property owners and new buildings? I think that's a very good question. We partly touched on that today. So yeah, I mean, the rent cap, I'm sure you are asking the prices, and of course the prices are affecting. I mean, you have to say, if you are now selling a property in Berlin, or if you want to buy it, which is tenanted, versus the one that is not tenanted, which is vacant, there's a huge price difference. We talk about 30 to 40% price difference, because you cannot simply take the tenant out of the apartment here in Germany. That's very important to know. The new builds, everything that has been completed after 2014, are exempt. However, we have no guarantee that in 5 years, assuming the rent freeze or the ceiling will not fall in front of the federal court, that the units you're buying now in 5 years are not new builds. So that's something we don't really know. So please keep that in mind. However, like I've said, that's something we can price in. So if you want to sell, we prefer to sell either to the tenant who would buy his own apartment, which is a very big topic here in the moment in Berlin, or you sell it to someone who can then use the apartment himself. So either they're going to claim self-usage, or the apartment is already vacant. So you give money to the tenant to leave, which is again very pricey. So that's something we need, so legal and of course commercial advice from us. Then there's a question, how can we know a land is built for multifamily apartment and how to proceed with loan on it? I think that's something you should ask our mortgage department. I'm happy to introduce you to Martin. He's going to give you a quote for that. How is possible? How we know a land is built for multifamily apartment? That's again something, if you're not really sure, we have the zoning plans, and it's written in the zoning plans. It's a good trick if you are not really sure about it. First of all, you should check what has been built in the direct neighborhood. It's a big topic. Sometimes we have surprises, sometimes we don't. But if you're not really sure, you can ask Dr. Hellriegel and ask him what's possible to be built there. There's another question here. We have a UK citizen. I wish to find out, will there be any problems from the 1st of January 2021 buying property in Berlin, as I live in the UK at the moment? I don't think there will be problems. Actually, after Brexit has been decided, you actually get a mortgage easier, because the banks have not protect you as a European consumer anymore. So you can ask for a mortgage here in Germany as a non-German taxpayer. You can even put that non-recourse. However, that's something, again, a question I think rather to the mortgage department. But actually interest rates have went down for you as a UK citizen. Don't ask me for the logic. It has to do with the regulation in Germany with the Banks and Consumer Protection Act. I think these are the main English questions we have so far. If there are no further questions, Dr. Hegel, you wish to say something in English for any topic? Did we miss something today?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us.
For the opportunity.
Thank you for watching tonight. Thank you, Dr. Hellriegel, for joining us tonight. We had a good session, and we were covering, I think, the biggest topics. And if you want to contact Dr. Hellriegel directly, please Google him. You'll find his website, Dr. Hellriegel, and you can contact him, of course, directly for any further questions for you as an investor, developer, or for someone who has any legal questions regarding zoning rights, planning permits, etc. Thank you and good evening.